Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and today I want to share with you guys my thoughts on the new White Mage abilities being added to Final Fantasy XIV's first expansion, Heavensward. I haven't done a healer or a tank video for any of these yet, and considering I have 13 jobs to get through, I should probably get started on doing that. So I decided to go with the White Mage first. I'll probably handle Scholar and Astrologian a little bit later down the line, mainly because I have a little bit more to say about those two jobs than I do to say about the White Mage. But don't worry, I'll be getting around to all of them, so if this isn't the healer you're looking for, just be on the lookout over the next week or so. But anyway, I want to get right into my thoughts on this one, so let's get started. So I guess before we can talk about the new White Mage abilities, we should really talk about one of the old ones, and that is Protect. Now, up until this point, Conjurer had a trait that, when they casted Protect, it would have a magic defense buff on top of the physical defense buff. This was something that separated White Mages and Scholars. You know, Scholars would cross-class it and only get the physical defense buff, and White Mages would have the full physical and magic defense buff. That will no longer be the case in Heavensward. The trait from the Conjurer is being worked directly into the Protect spell, meaning that Paladins, Astrologians, and Scholars will also grant a magic defense buff when casting Protect. I sort of saw this coming. I was worried that the magic defense buff, the consistency of it, would be too beneficial against bosses that did AoE magic damage to the raid, and it was just something that I kind of expected to happen to balance that out. When we're talking about the healers and the tanks, you're going to hear the word homogenization a lot, because they really are trying to make all the tanks and healers near equal in a sense that you can bring whatever you want and still be okay to the fight, but that they have completely different play styles and different utilities that they can bring as an individual job. But so we can explain that a little bit better, now let's start talking about the new abilities for White Mage. So White Mage has got a variety of new abilities, some of them purely offensive and some of them more on the healing side, and one of them somewhere in between. So White Mages, first of all, they got Stone 3 and Arrow 3. Stone 3 is now the strongest single target spell that you're going to have as a White Mage, whereas Arrow 3 is a new AoE ability that the White Mages are going to have. It's actually going to be an AoE dot that will be cast around the target, which is going to make it an interesting thing to combine when using with Arrow and Arrow 2. You're going to be able to put out a little bit more AoE DPS alongside your Holies now, because White Mages totally needed more AoE damage. All I'm saying is it's a new spell that you're going to be working into your 4-man dungeon rotations, and honestly, with Cleric Stance and Stone 3, White Mages should be able to put out much more meaningful damage if given the opportunity. It should definitely be something that White Mages should think about now, as starting the fight with a Cleric Stance, Arrow, Arrow 2, and maybe a couple of Stone 3s might be a little bit more common when it comes to some of the bosses, or when killing adds that healing is not required for. Now, another sign that White Mages should probably expect to deal a little bit more damage in this expansion is the addition of a new ability called a Size. This ability does damage in an AoE and also heals in that AoE. It's an instant cast spell, but we don't know what kind of cooldown it has. If it's something that fits on the global cooldown, if it's a spammable ability, it's probably something that sits on a cooldown like some other spells in the game. However, the addition of more damaging spells and more reason to use Cleric Stance really as a White Mage shows that they really are trying to make them a competitive DPS alongside the Scholar. Now, White Mage has always done good damage. I've never debated that. My major concern was that Scholars were able to heal alongside of a White Mage with their pet and be full-time DPSs at the same time. I'm sure that this is in place to mitigate that desire because, let's be honest here, Scholar being able to DPS while the other healer and their fairy takes care of everything else basically gives you an extra 300 to 400 DPS as it stands right now. And that's pretty crazy to think about, that it's basically like having another DPS while still having a functional healer. So these abilities, while they're probably meant to compete with the Scholar on some level or give them a use similar to the Scholar, I'm still concerned that with a Size, if a Size is really enough of a damage and heal at the same time to off-put the straight up utility and healing that a fairy can offer from a Scholar, and with the new abilities Astrologian is going to be getting if they really still have a place. I'm sure that Square Enix has worked it all out and that White Mages will be able to be competitive with these new offensive spells along with the new healing spells we're going to be talking about in a second here, but it is still a major concern for me that Scholar will still dominate as the mandatory healer with Astrologian and White Mage fighting over that other spot. But let's talk about the other White Mage abilities before it gets all doom and gloom. And to be honest, with the combination of these other two abilities, White Mage should see an easier time DPSing and healing at the same time. Currently, you pretty much just regen and hope that the regen out heals the damage that is being done, along with a Divine Seal, of course. And then you throw out some arrows or some holies or some stone 2s, whatever ends up working for you based on your gear. Well, with these new abilities, they should be able to provide much more consistent healing over time, while then being able to go into Cleric Stance and output damage, which is exactly what I wanted to see the White Mage get. They're getting one new instant heal ability called Tetragrammaton, which is, I want to say it's similar to Lustrate. It is an instant cast heal similar to Lustrate, but it says that it's fewer HP than Benediction, which is a given, to be honest. I'm curious to see if it's going to cost MP, if it's going to be a percentage-based heal, meaning it's something that you can use while you are in Cleric Stance and still be an effective healer, or if it's just going to be a low-potency heal that you can do while on the move so you don't need to stop and cast. Either way, it's a utility added to White Mage that I am not going to complain about in any way, shape, or form. Their other ability is definitely something that's going to help them focus on that whole healing while in Cleric Stance deal, and that is the ability Asylum, which puts down a Sacred Soil looking shield. However, instead of preventing you from taking damage, anyone standing inside of it will heal over time. So Regen, Asylum, and Assize are all going to be great tools in helping the White Mage DPS and heal at the same time. And I know I'm beating that point into the ground, but as an endgame raider, it is something that I just can't ignore. Scholar's ability to do it is just so good and so reliable. White Mages needed that reliability in order to stay relevant amongst the healers, because based on some of the things we're learning about Astrologian, they will probably be able to DPS and heal at the same time. While that is a topic for another video, I'm glad that they're giving White Mages not only more healing tools for when they are full-time healing, but more important damage tools that they can utilize while in Cleric Stance. More AoE, more single target. To be honest, I'm not going to complain. I'm curious, though, about Stone 2 and Stone 3. Stone 3 is literally just said to be the strongest Earth Elemental magic, stronger than Stone 1 and 2. Now, what separated Stone 1 and 2 before was Stone 1 had a heavy effect attached to it, and Stone 2 just did more damage. Well, Stone 3 have a damage over time effect attached to it, and I'm sure that there are people who went to the Media Tour that could tell us this, if it was just straight up higher potency, or if it had something else to it. Regardless, though, I am happy with what I'm seeing from the White Mage. I really hope that they can compete, that we will see them dealing more damage. If you're a White Mage now and you're kind of hesitant in dealing damage and healing at the same time, it's something that takes a lot of practice. And honestly, this will probably be a good way to help you start practicing with these new tools. I know it's strange to be a healer and DPSing in a game, and it is something you have to make a careful balance of. It's really easy to not pay attention to your MP enough while you're doing damage and just let the tank die. It's something that's gonna take you a little bit of work, but with these new tools, hopefully you're willing to jump into that whole DPS and heal at the same time and output as much potential as possible from your job. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section of the video below. White Mage was, of the two healers that exist, I was more impressed with the new White Mage abilities than I was with the new Scholar abilities. I'll be talking about that in a future video, but I don't know. I'm generally been happy with all of the changes so far. I think this is the 5th video I've done, and I've generally approved of the things. There are some jobs that I felt were a little lackluster, and I haven't spoken about those yet, such as Ninja and Scholar, but we'll be seeing those in future videos. Anyway, let me know what you think about the new abilities in the comments section. Do you think that this is going to help people sort of ease into the idea of DPSing and healing at the same time a little bit more? Or is it still going to be kind of a nervous area for new players? I hope that they're going to be a little bit more comfortable with these new abilities. Anyway, also be sure to like, favorite, subscribe, and share, and check out my new shirts on sale. You can see them right now on your screen, or the ones on the right. Yeah, on the right. Yeah, on the right. So check those out, and also be sure to check out Green Man Gaming, where you can get 20% off games. All you have to do is sign into Green Man Gaming, make sure you fill out your information under settings, and you should be able to put in that code to save 20% on damn near everything, including Heavensward. But anyway, I'll see you guys in the next video, and until then, take care.